Welcome back for another edition of Woldsman's Endgames. In this video, the Woldsman would like to show you a deceptively simple looking position. It arose in a game played in the 1939 USSR Championship between two very strong players, neither of whom is especially well known. Playing white was Alexander Chistiakov, a Muscovite and in fact the 1950 Moscow champion. Chistiakov was never awarded the Grandmaster or International Master titles, and he seems never to have played in a tournament outside of the Soviet Union. But according to the retrospective chess metrics algorithm, Chistiakov's peak rating was over 2600, and his peak ranking was in the world's top 40 in the early 1950s. While his opponent playing black was Vladimir Makogonov, multiple champion of Azerbaijan, and Chessmetrics gives him a peak rating of over 2700 and a world ranking of number 5 in 1945. And Makogonov achieved 4 top 5 finishes in the USSR Championships and was awarded honorary International Master and honorary Grandmaster titles for his achievements. Makogonov was also one of Garry Kasparov's early trainers while he lived in Baku. So now to the position, having introduced the players. And it's a bishop of the same colour ending, and white to move holds an extra passed h-pawn. So white's plan here is to push and to try and promote this pawn, and also to infiltrate, if possible, with his king. Whereas black would like to get his king to h7, blocking the h-pawn. Now notice that the h8 queening square is the same colour as the bishops, which greatly increases white's winning chances. So the question is, well, what should white play in this position? He has to choose between one of 3 moves. He can play either king g4 or king g5, defending the f-pawn, which is under attack from black's bishop, or white could go 1f5, advancing the f-pawn. So if you'd like to think about this ending, pause the video here. Okay, well, welcome back if you had a go at analysing the position. So let's consider the 3 options available to white in turn, starting with the move f5. Now, f5 at first sight seems strong, because you'll notice that white now controls the squares e6, f6 and f8, and that seems to make it very difficult for black to carry out his plan of reaching h7 with his king. But the problem is that black can counter f5 with the move bishop f4. And now notice that it's black that controls the squares g6, g5 and h6. And this restricts white's king. So in order to make progress, white has to retreat with the move king g4. Well, black's bishop's attacked, so he moves it away to d2. White plays h4, pushing the pawn. Black brings his king across, king e7. White pushes again with h5. And now black has a very important defensive idea. He can go f6, and this move creates a pathway. It clears the way to h7 for black's king. And after white pushes h6, black can go king f7. That was the square that the pawn occupied. And if king h5, then black can just wait. He can go, say, bishop c1, and he's got a successful blockade. Okay, so looking at this variation, we've learned that f6 is an important square. This f6 pawn move is a key resource for black. and so control of the f6 square is important. So the move king g5 is therefore very strong in this position. Or black might reply with king e6, maybe with ideas of getting f5 in. But white can force the king back. White can go f5 check. And after king e7, white has another key move. He can go king h6, infiltrating with the king. And it looks as though black might be able to hold this position. He can go bishop h4, obstructing the advance of the h-pawn, and with ideas of maybe going bishop f6 as well. But white's bishop falls back. It can go to, let's say, the square b2. And now black has got two choices. He can either carry out the intended plan of bishop f6, or he can try running with the king and going king f8. So let's have a look at what happens after both of these defensive try. Let's look at bishop f6 first. Well, white has got the move bishop a3 check, checking the king. And the king can no longer go to f8. That's an illegal move. So the black king has to go to d7 instead. White's king infiltrates further. He goes king h7. He's eyeing the f-pawn, so black's king falls back to defend it. The white king attacks the f-pawn. Black goes bishop h4, going back to hold up the h-pawn's advance. But now there's a nice move. We go king g7. Again, denying the bishop access to that f6 square, taking control of it. So black must go bishop g5. And now white occupies f6 himself with the pawn. He goes f6. Black's king can't move. He can't abandon the f-pawn, so black has to go bishop h4. White goes bishop c1. And now black's bishop has to move, has to give way. Goes to f2. And white simply goes bishop g5, and now white can advance the h-pawn and win the game. So that bishop c1 move was a nice little Zugzwang, forcing either the king or the bishop to move. And when the bishop does move, white goes bishop g5 with a winning position. Okay, so let's go back. What happens then if black tries his other defensive idea and goes king f8, running with the king, trying to gain control of either the queening square or that h7 square? Well, white again can go king h7, stopping the black king from going to g8. And now white is threatening to play f6, followed by bishop a3 check. So black has to forestall this by going f6 himself. But this creates a weakness on g6. So the white king goes king g6, and now the bishop and the king are both attacking the f-pawn. So black's king has to defend. And now white can play another very neat Zugzwang. Zugzwangs are very common in bishop endings. You can play the move bishop c3. And again, either the king or the bishop have to give way. If the king moves, the pawn is captured. So black goes bishop to g5. But now white can go bishop e1, contesting control of the h4 square. And after the bishop goes to e3, white can play h4. And we'll play a few more moves, see what happens. Bishop d4, say. White carries on pushing the pawn, h5. The idea of bishop d4 was to enable black to go king f8. But it's not going to be any good. White is in time. He goes h6. And after king g8, we can go h7 check. Black occupies the queening square with king h8. But white can go bishop h4, attacking the f-pawn. There's nothing better than bishop c3. And now white can simply capture. Bishop takes f6 check. And after bishop takes bishop, king takes bishop, the f-pawn is going to queen, and that's winning. So congratulations if you chose king g5 as your first move. Very well done if you saw any of that analysis. Okay, but in the game, however, Krystiakov did not play king g5, and instead he chose the third option, the superficially attractive king g4. Now this seems a nice move because it simultaneously defends the f-pawn and attacks the bishop. But it's not as good as king g5 because it doesn't contest this f6 square. Black retreated bishop e1. And now what is white to do? Well, if he tries to push the h-pawn with h4, then he runs into this. Black can go king e6. White pushes the king back with f5. Check. Black goes king e7. And now after h5, black has got this idea we saw before. He can go f6, clearing a path for the king. And after h6, king f7, king h5, then black can just go bishop d2 with this blockading idea. There's no way that white can make progress here. He's just held back. He can't play h7 because that loses the bishop. He can't penetrate it with the king. So that would be drawn. If we have another look at this line, let's go back to this position. Here we saw what happened after white played h5. The other thing he could try is to try infiltrating with his king. This worked out very nicely earlier in the variation we looked at. But here again, black has got this very annoying f6 move, and we can't go king g6 because that would drop the h pawn. And if white goes bishop h6, then black goes king f7. And if the bishop drops back to say e3, we can go king g7. And again, there's a blockade. Black now has control of that key h7 square. So h4 is insufficient to win the game. So instead, Krystiakov tried the move king f5 in this position. And after king e7, he went king g5. But the problem now is the black bishop is better placed on e1 than it was on g3. And black has the resource bishop d2 here, pinning the f pawn. And so all white can do is to push the h pawn, h4. Black can go king e6 now. There's no f5 check. That's an illegal move. And after h5, then black has got this resource f6 check. And here it serves another purpose because after white captures, bishop takes f6, black has a capture, bishop takes f4 check. And this liquidates nicely into a draw. But after king g5, Makaganov missed this resource, and instead he played king e6. And this should have cost him the game, because it allows white to carry out another version of the infiltration maneuver that we saw earlier. White should play f5 check here. And after the king is forced back, he has time to play this king h6 idea. And if black goes f6, trying to bring the king over, then white can go king g6. And now he's either going to win the f pawn, or he's going to be able to advance the h pawn. So that would be sufficient to win. But instead of going f5 check, which was very natural, white prevaricated, and white went bishop d4 instead. Bishop d4 doesn't really fit in with white's strategy, so it's not a good move. And in fact, a passage of play followed where both players made errors, failing to see either the key winning idea or the key defensive idea. So black went king e7 here. I mean, bishop d2 is the strongest move, pinning the pawn, but king e7 is okay. White went bishop g7. He doesn't want the king to go to f8. And here black must play bishop d2, pinning the f-pawn. That draws, as we saw before, but instead he went king e6, which is a mistake because it allows f5 check. But white didn't take the chance. They went back with bishop b2, which is an error. Black went king e7, and again white forestalled king f8 by going bishop a3 check. And now the black king has a choice. Does it go back or does it come forward? Well, the correct move would have been to go back to king e8. That seems a counterintuitive move. But after f5, f5 doesn't come with check. Black can go bishop d2 check himself. And notice that the bishop and the pawn are preventing the advance of the king. Can't go to h6 or g6. And there's not much point going to f6 either, because bishop c3 check would happen and the white king is forced back to g5. So that's a problem. So instead white has to go king g4. And now f6 comes, and that mounts another successful blockade. So king e8 would have been correct here, and far from obvious though. And instead Makaganov made the more obvious move. He played king e6. But this is another mistake, because again white can just go f5 check, which, as we've already seen, would be winning. But instead he went bishop b2 to prevent f6. Black went back with king e7, and here the players even repeated the position. Bishop a3 check happened again. So we know that black should go king e8 here, but instead black repeated, maybe hoping for threefold repetition. And now white was hasty, and he pushed h4. We'll see why that was a mistake in a moment. But now was still the time for f5 check. Whenever the black king comes to e6 in this ending, f5 check, if white's ready to play that, is winning. Black goes king e5, white goes bishop b2 check. That's an important move. And now after king d5, now is the right time to push h4 with the black king out of position. Black goes king e4, trying to make a rear kind of flank attack on the f-pawn. White goes h5. And if bishop d2 check, well, now white has got this move king f6. It's a nice move. Black doesn't have a check on the long diagonal anymore. So after, say, bishop e3, white goes bishop a3. He wants to play bishop at f8 and h6. So black stops that by going bishop h6. But now another little zugzwang. White can go bishop b4, forcing either the king to move. If the king moves to f4, the bishop is lost to a check on d2. If the king moves anywhere else, white captures the f-pawn. And if the black bishop gives way by going, let's say, bishop c1, then white can access the f8 square. And if bishop b2 check, white now can capture. King takes f7, black takes the pawn, king takes f5, white plays h6, and after bishop d4, say, then white is going to play bishop g7, and that gains control of the long diagonal. When the bishop moves away, h7 follows, followed by h8 queening, winning the game. But instead of f5, white was hasty and pushed h4 immediately. And he should push h4 when he has a better position. That's why f5 check was the correct move. But after h4, And then Makhloganov returned the favour with the equally hasty f6 check. And here f6 is not the best move. It's better to play bishop d2 first, pinning the f-pawn. And White's king can't go king h6 because that would drop the f-pawn. So the best White can do here is to go h5. And now Black plays f6 check, and this draws the game because if White goes king g6, then bishop takes f4 happens, and if White goes king g4, then Black has time to go king f7, king g7 with a blockade. So that would be drawn. But bishop d2 did not appear on the board, and instead Black went f6 check immediately. And here Krystiakov missed his last chance to win the game. He put king g4 on the board, and the game ended king f7, h5, king g7. Black achieves an optimum blockading position. White went bishop e7, Black went bishop d2, and after the further moves bishop d6, bishop c1, the players agreed to a draw here. That was the end of the game. But instead of king g4, White had a winning move available, and the winning move was to go king g6, giving up the h-pawn. Because after bishop takes h4, f5 check, Black loses wherever his king goes. So if he goes king d7, then White goes king f7. And after bishop g5, then White will go bishop b2, and this is going to be followed by capturing the f6 pawn with a 1 king and pawn ending, because White controls one of the key squares, e6, f6 or g6. And if instead, after f5 check, if Black goes king d5, then White will go bishop b2. And again, bishop takes f6 is going to follow, and that will lead to a 1 king and pawn ending. Okay, well, if you've watched previous videos, you'll know that the Woltzman always chooses positions for their instructional value. Every chess player, even players as we've seen as strong as Krystiakov and Makhloganov, make mistakes, and these mistakes can be learned from. So analysing this game, what have we learned? Well, we've learned that simple looking positions can prove surprisingly challenging. And to see through the complications, however, it helps to try to keep in mind the basic plans. And here, for White, the basic winning strategy was to push the h-pawn and or infiltrate with the king. And for Black, the key drawing strategies were to establish a blockade and find a way of running with the king to h7. And this f6 move was a key to implementing these strategies. So always look for opportunities to implement the basic underlying plans, and that will help navigate a way through the complications. And if a move doesn't seem to fit in with your basic underlying plan, well, we'll think hard before playing it. Thanks for watching.